This is Tim Bryce with my column titled, The Bryce American History Quiz. Last week I asked my readers to take a simple quiz regarding American government and history. I wanted to see just how well we knew some of the basics, such as our governing docs and some historical events. Nothing elaborate. I just wanted to take a pulse of our knowledge in general. 134 brave souls took the quiz, for which I give my thanks. I didn't want the quiz to be complicated, which is why I tried to keep it as simple as possible. I could have asked for such things as age and political party affiliation, but I didn't want to muddy the waters and turn people off. Out of those who took the test, probably 25 people got a perfect score. I was not surprised by this, as I didn't try to invent a complicated quiz, just something that could give us some fundamental idea of what we know and what we don't. The quiz was far from scientific, yet I believe I can draw some conclusions from it based on the input. But first, let's review the responses to each question. Question number 1. Signed in 1620, it is the first governing document of Plymouth Colony as written by the colonists, later known to history as the Pilgrims. It was in essence a social contract in which the settlers consented to follow the document's rules and regulations for the sake of survival. The correct answer was the Mayflower Compact. Of that, 92 people got it right, representing 69%. In second place was the Magna Carta. 22 people responded to that, representing 17%. Then others responded to Pilgrim Declaration, Plymouth Compact, and the Standish Consent and Decree. I consider this a tricky question, as most people are unaware of any American history prior to 1776. I was pleasantly surprised to see how many people got it right. Those that answered the Magna Carta disappointed me. Even though it is an important document that influenced others, it was still developed in England, not America. I consider it significant that people recognize its name, though. By the way, the last three, the Pilgrim Declaration, the Plymouth Compact, and the Standish Consent Decree, were figments of my imagination. Question number 2. How many separate but equal branches are there in the U.S. federal government? The correct answer is 3. And there was 131 people who responded to that, representing 98%. 2 people said 2 branches, and 1 person said 4 branches. People may have gotten other parts of the quiz wrong, but somehow the concept of 3 separate but equal branches of government, representing the checks and balances of government, has been successfully stamped into our brains. Only 3 people missed this. Question number 3. What is the following quote from? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 94 people said the Declaration of Independence, which is the correct answer. That's 70%. That was followed by the Bill of Rights. 27 people answered that, representing 20%. And then we had 6 people say the Gettysburg Address, representing 5%, and another 7 said the U.S. Constitution, representing another 5%. The lion's share of answers went correctly to the Declaration of Independence, but I was surprised to see how many people picked the Bill of Rights. As an aside, many of us had to memorize this section of the Declaration in elementary school. Question number 4. Which U.S. president was not impeached? The correct answer was Richard Nixon. 80 people got this correct, representing 60%. 34 people said Bill Clinton, representing 25%. And 20 people said Andrew Johnson, which is 15%. I expected this kind of response to this question. Richard Nixon resigned before impeachment proceedings could begin. The other 2 were impeached, meaning to hold trial in the Senate, yet were found not guilty. No U.S. president has ever been forcibly removed from office through peaceful means. Assassination is another matter altogether. Question number 5. What is the following quote from? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. The correct answer was the U.S. Constitution. 96 people got that right, representing 72%. In second place was the Declaration of Independence. 32 people thought it was that, 24%. And 4 people thought it was the Bill of Rights, representing 3%. And 2 people thought it was the Gettysburg Address. Most people got this correct, but notice how many confused it for the Declaration of Independence. This particular quote is from the preamble of the Constitution. Like the Declaration, many of us had to memorize this in grade school, but I don't think they do this anymore. Question number 6. What U.S. president served as Commander-in-Chief during World War I? Woodrow Wilson was the correct answer. 95 people answered correctly, representing 71%. In second place was Theodore Roosevelt. 18 people voted for that, representing 13%. 11 people voted for Calvin Coolidge, 7 for Warren Harding, and 3 for William Howard Taft. I expected this question to be a little tougher, as a lot of us have forgotten the events of nearly 100 years ago. Baby boomers may still be familiar with World War II, but I thought they would surely have problems with the First War, the war to end all wars. I wasn't surprised that Teddy Roosevelt captured the number of responses that he did, simply because of his strong name recognition. By the way, William Howard Taft was the only president who also became Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, and the first to throw out a baseball on opening day, I might add. Question number 7. What is the following quote from? And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. 127 people said the oath of office, which is correct. That's 95% of the study. 6 people said the U.S. Constitution, and 1 person said the Bill of Rights. I was flabbergasted that anyone got this wrong. The 6 who answered the U.S. Constitution should have read the question more carefully. Question number 8. What is the following quote from? That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. 122 people correctly said the Gettysburg Address. That's 91%. 5 people said the Bill of Rights, 2 people said the Declaration of Independence, and 5 people said the U.S. Constitution. I was pleased to see most people remembered Lincoln's speech. Interestingly, Lincoln was not the keynote speaker that day, and because of this, his words were almost overlooked by reporters in attendance. Thank God somebody was paying attention. Question number 9. It stated that further efforts by European countries to colonize land or interfere with states in the Americas would be viewed as acts of aggression requiring U.S. intervention. It asserted that the Western Hemisphere was not to be further colonized by European countries, but that the United States would neither interfere with existing European colonies nor meddle in the internal concerns of European countries. The correct answer was the Monroe Doctrine. 116 people got it right, 87%. 9 people said the Emancipation Proclamation, 2 said the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and 7 people said the NATO Accord. I was pleasantly surprised by this one, as I had assumed many people had forgotten about the Monroe Doctrine, an important document which to this day is still in effect. I wonder if those who answered the Emancipation Proclamation really understood the significance of that document. Probably not. And finally, question number 10. Which U.S. president was not directly involved with the Vietnam War? The correct answer was Dwight Eisenhower. 81 people got that correct. That's 60%. 49 people said Gerald Ford, representing 27%. 1 person thought it was Lyndon Johnson, and 3 people thought it was John Kennedy. This was perhaps my most controversial question, as some of you argued that Eisenhower sent advisors to Vietnam. True, but we sent advisors to a lot of places. Vietnam was Kennedy's line in the sand to stop the proliferation of communism. As to Ford, he inherited the Paris peace talks from Nixon following his resignation and was in charge when we finally pulled out in 1975. Interestingly, I find younger people have no clue about this war whatsoever. In conclusion, a few things occurred to me as I was compiling the results. First, the Gettysburg Address is better known than the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. The Gettysburg Address is a moving speech, but it certainly doesn't bear the significance of our governing documents. Second, it seemed to me that a lot of people cannot distinguish between the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. They view them as synonymous documents. For what it's worth, the Declaration was used to sever Britain's authority over its American colonies. The U.S. Constitution specifies how the government is to operate. The Bill of Rights is an attachment to the Constitution and specifies the basic rights of the citizens, specifically the first 10 amendments. It was greatly influenced by such documents as the Magna Carta. All three documents, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, are important reads that all citizens should be familiar with, not just students in grade school. Finally, here are the number of correct answers versus incorrect answers submitted on the quiz. There were 1,034 correct answers versus 306 incorrect answers. That means there were 77% correct answers and 23% incorrect. In most schools, a 77% would represent a C, which is probably not as bad as we think. Actually, this number is probably higher than the national average, as I like to believe my readers are smarter than most. Friends, keep the faith. This is Tim Bryce in Palm Harbor, Florida. Follow me on the internet at timbryce.com.